But let's start with a little story. This is Angel. It's 1983. Angel's 13 years old. Angel's been feeling a little different about himself lately. He's starting to have certain feelings for certain people he shouldn't have feelings for. So Angel does what we always instruct our students to do. Angel goes to school and talks to his teacher and his guidance counselor. And said, you know what? These feelings aren't really out the ordinary. Talk to your parents. They should know about this and they should support you in this. So Angel gets the courage and says, today's the day I'm going to do it. So Angel comes home and waits for his mom and dad to get home from work. He gets there and says, Mom and Dad, I need to talk to you about something. And it sounded real serious because his voice got real deep. So his dad put the table down and said, what's wrong, son? And he says, Dad, Mom, I think I'm gay. His mom immediately starts crying. And then his dad ruffles the paper again and moves the paper off his lap and says, son, what do you mean? He said, well, I know I'm gay, Dad, I'm gay. And so his dad says, I'm going to ask you one more time, son. And after I ask you, you're going to have two options. One, you're going to tell me if you are gay. And if you say you are, the second option is you're going to pack a book bag and leave my house now. So Angel looks at his father and says, Father, I am gay. His dad said, well, get everything that you bought and put in your book bag and leave. So Angel's 13 years old, so he can't get a job. He hasn't had no money, so the only thing he really put in his book bag was a toothbrush. And Angel left. So the only place Angel knew to go was where he heard a lot of young gay black Latino youth were going in New York at the time, which was called the famous Pier. So Angel found enough money in his pockets and took a train to the pier, and Angel is at the pier now. So Angel lives on the benches, and he's learned from some of the other kids, the runaways and the homeless kids there, how to survive. He's learned to sleep on the bench and only put everything on him that he needs and make sure that when someone touches the bench that he jumps up. He's learned to defend himself. He's only been here 5 days, and he's really street smart now. The one thing that Angel did see was that in this pier, there was a lot of young people following different people around, and they were grouped together, and he was trying to figure out how they found this connectivity amongst each other. How can I be like that? One day, Angel had found some money. He was panhandling, got some money, was eating a hamburger, and this woman walked past him, and she said, child, what you doing out here? And Angel's now been out there 2 weeks, so now he really knows how to be street smart, and said, what's it to you? Because the defense mechanism tells you that when they're asking you something, they want something. And she said, oh, you're a sassy one. He said, well, yeah, what's up? What's good? She said, well, why you out here? He said, why you think I'm out here? So this went back and forth, and she was amused by his ability to keep on his feet. And then there's some other young people ran up behind her and started calling her mother and said, Mom, are you ready to go? And he looked at her, and he said, oh, these your kids? She said, yes, these are my kids. This is my house. And he said, well, what's a house? And she said, well, follow me and I'll show you. That was his introduction into the house and ballroom world. So what is house and ballroom? House and ballroom has existed under our noses for about 35 to 40 years. We can trace it back to the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s. It was a culture that evolved out of the Harlem drag scene. Around 1970, the house and ballroom became a voice for individuals who were disenfranchised, rejected, and dejected from their family homes. These individuals found one another and became marginalized together. They found one another and connected together to become a unified voice. For many people in the house and ballroom scene, the houses became who they were. So physically, what happened, like an Angel story, somebody became a mother figure or leader. And this person became the father or the mother and collected children around them or her and provided a safe space for them, a safe space that their biological parents should have provided for them. And so they taught them different things. And when they formed these spaces, they said, we need to have a name, a family name. And so some of these houses started forming names like Pendavis and LaBeija and Ebony and Lanvin. And these names became something they were proud of. Much like my last name is Murray, they're very proud of their last names. And then from the names they came proud of, then they started figuring out how to express ourselves. And the expression of the house culture became the ballroom, which was between the houses would compete against one another, trying to find out who was the best one at that time. Again, this culture has existed under our noses for 40 years. So if house is the physical unity of the family formed, then ballroom would be the competition in the culture. We'll watch this little video. Take a big look at it. Yes, it's me. And that's a little too laughing. Y'all tried it. But no, that's me. I heard an extra giggle. Don't do that. He's still cute. 20 years ago or so, I'm not gonna tell my age, 20-something years ago. And this was me, about 19, 20, didn't know who I was. My story is not Angel's story. Someone asked me earlier, was that like asking for a friend? No. My story wasn't like Angel's. My story is a little unique in that I had a family who loved me and accepted me. I didn't know how I could love myself. Being raised in a church and being an in-closet gay man, a young gay man, I didn't know that the gayness that I had, that my family would accept it. They did, but at this time here, I didn't know. I lived in a homeless shelter. I thought about killing myself several times. I had no direction, and somewhere around 19-something, not gonna tell you, 1990-something, I found House and Ballroom. House and Ballroom kind of created the man you see before you. Now, 20-something years later, I'm a social worker. I work at a major company, have my own consulting company, and I teach other young people how to find their own voices in and outside the ballroom scene. Thank you. So if I had to come up with one word to summarize ballroom for my life, I could say ballroom saved my life. It created a courageous advocate. It created a confident man that you see before you. I went from this, and I think at this time I was living at a homeless shelter, to someone who's on front of the stage with you at TED Talk. So let's talk about why this matters. Like I said before, ballroom has been influential in our pop culture for the last probably 30, 40 years. We've been at the cusp and just behind every movement that's happened, from our pop stars to the way we've dressed, to the way we've danced, to the way we talk. We've been in every infiltrated part there. But we've been there just enough that we were not noticed. Our invisibility became a factor for us. When I first started in ballroom wasn't something that you bragged and talked about. It wasn't until probably the last 15 years that people appreciated who we were. And then we find out in recent years that people who are a part of the house and ballroom scene has become the influencers of pop culture. We are the cuffs of what we do. When we say certain phrases are followed, and we hear it on television. When we dress certain ways, people talk to us about it. What matters for this here is that we've sometimes overlooked this population, and when populations are overlooked, they develop their own systems. And so now as we're developing our own system, these systems are kind of colliding, and it's time for our voices to be heard. All right. So now here's the thing that I know you all know about. It's voguing, right? But this you didn't know it came from us. No. What you thought Madonna did it in 1993? And that's where it popped out? No. Voguing became our art form that we were allowed to exist in mainstream. And it became the way we expressed ourselves and our talents. And it became the way we created our dance moves. So voguing came from the House and Ballroom Scene in 1971, but we just never got credit for it probably until 2018. So one thing about voguing that expresses our culture and allows us to exist is that once we know that language allows a culture to exist, there was a language of voguing. The movements tell a story, whether it was your struggle or your invisibility, and also the movements tell where you came from or what region you were in. So the first one we're going to talk about is hands. Hands tells a pantomime story. So instead of throwing fists in the 70s, individuals would start kind of like breakdancing or pop locking, but the hands kind of tells the story if we were talking about a book. And we're going to have Sky show you hands. Major, I'm sorry. Now, if hands tells the story, the catwalk turns to pages. The catwalk is a sassy way that you go from one position to the other, or you move yourself from one position on the stage to the other. It's the way you throw your hips. It's the way you throw your sass. We're gonna have Sky show us a catwalk. Now, the third element is the duck walk. And for me, the duck walk is the hardest one because the duck walk requires a lot of leg muscle. The duck walk allows you to move up and down through a battle or through the boundary of life. So we're going to have Lamont show us a duck walk. So the last two of the 5 elements is the floors and the spins and the dips. So if the hands told the story and the catwalk turned the page and the duck walk took us from one phrase to the next phrase, the floor performance either ends the sentence for us, and then the spins and the dips are the period. So we're going to show you floor performance and then spins and dips. So now when we put all the elements together, you now have a full conversation. And this conversation through Vogue and our art form of dance has allowed us to express ourselves whether you knew it came from us or not. It talks about our struggle and it talks about our invisibility. So I'm going to have you have a conversation with the dancers as you watch them express themselves. Thank you.